today that's not being heard in the Assembly Housing Committee, and that's Assembly Bill 2258, which would establish code red standards throughout the state. What is code red? Code red is when the state designates that it is too hot or air quality is too poor to be outside. This affects our unhoused populations, seniors, and at-risk populations. It's very much the least that we can do for our unsheltered populations is to provide a roof over the heads of folks who need one. This legislation has been around for several years. The Housing Community Development Network and its members have worked tirelessly with legislative allies like Senator Brittany Timberlake and Assemblyman Reginald Atkins on advancing this important legislation moving forward. A little context is that the state budget this year, the FY26 budget, is $59 billion. This legislation would command about $5 million of that. So it's a drop in the hat to provide this essential service for our most at-risk populations. This bill passed unanimously in the Senate back in June. It has wide support in the majority caucus in the legislature, and yet this bill gets stuck with leadership time and time again. So we are standing outside the Assembly Housing Committee today, which is chaired by Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez, who thankfully supports this legislation and has requested this bill to be advanced for a hearing. When it was not posted today, we are now advocating during lame duck that leadership take this bill seriously, support our at-risk and most at-risk populations, and make sure that the state has standards for what to do when it is too hot or air quality is too poor. This is the least that we can do. So we are here in the context of everything else that we're talking about today. There's an important bill on the agenda today in Assembly Housing that allows for the establishment of municipal homelessness trust funds, which is great. I don't see how you can have a homelessness advocacy plan without providing cooling centers or warming centers for folks who don't have a home. So the state needs to get its priorities straight. In this legislative session, we have an opportunity to move these important bills finally, bills that have been worked on tirelessly with good faith, with network advocates and members and our legislative allies. So I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to introduce our legislative ally, Senator Brittany Timberlake from District 34. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Brittany Timberlake. Yeah. It's like when you're like, are you handing me this? Or?
Boy, Mom.
Yeah. My name is Senator Brittany Timberlake, and I am a proud advocate for affordable housing and for making sure that everyone has a roof and a shelter over their head. And I'm so proud to be here with the Housing and Community Development Network, who is fighting to push forward bills that help all populations of people in need. And Code Red is incredibly important. We know that people die during times of excessive heat. And air quality, as we see that it is becoming an increasing problem, particularly with wildfires that are either blowing into our country from Canada or blowing within our country from other neighboring states, or even our own state here in New Jersey, where we have seen record-breaking wildfires recently. And everyone deserves to have clean air, clean water, and to be able to go into a facility where they can breathe clean air. And that is what Code Red is about, air quality, as well as making sure that people in times of excessive heat have an opportunity to cool off. There's also the homeless bill of rights. We need to be fighting very hard for that. We are seeing not only nationwide, because of what's happening at the federal government, criminalizing homelessness, but we're also seeing municipalities here in the state of New Jersey trying the same thing. The homeless bill of rights would set standards in place and prevent that type of criminalization from happening. So I am here to fight for the people and to fight for housing and to fight for shelter for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I just want to introduce Stacey Berger, our President and CEO of the Housing Community Development Network of New Jersey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Berger. I'm the President and CEO of the Housing and Community Development Network. It's my honor and privilege to represent so many organizations. We stand for about 250 community development corporations, private sector partners, and housing champions across the state who believe that everyone deserves a safe place to call home because housing is a human right. And we will not get that right unless we fight for it, clearly. We should have the right to shelter, whether it's too cold or it's too hot, or we don't have enough resources of our own. We need our elected officials here in the State House and across our state to make sure that everyone has a place that they can afford to live in. We know that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund continues to be an issue here in the State House. We were successful in restoring 45 million of the 125 million diversion that took place during this budget cycle. We want the rest of that money restored to the communities that need affordable homes built to make sure that they can A, meet their Mount Laurel obligations, and B, provide the homes that people need and deserve. Without that money, community development organizations are not going to be able to meet the needs of the residents that they willingly serve in their communities as nonprofit entities. So we look forward to the governor and the legislature making good on the rest of the restoration. We appreciate the $45 million down payment, but we need the other $80 million to make sure that the Housing Trust Fund is completely recapitalized. And we really look forward to a new budget in the next cycle with Governor-elect Sherrill, who committed in her campaign that she would not do a diversion of the trust fund. So we are very much hopeful that that this will be a thing of the past, that the diversion of the trust fund will once and for all be a page we turn and we don't look back on. But we are going to remain vigilant here to be sure that we have the resources that our communities and our neighbors in need deserve. It is my honor and privilege to turn this over to Assemblyman Atkins, if you wanted to say a few words about the Homelessness Bill of Rights. He's just coming down the hall, so I'm just going to make an audible there. The Homelessness Bill of Rights, is, as Senator Timberlake noted, is an important piece of legislation. We really need to get this passed, and we would love to have the legislature take this up and make sure that communities, including my own, can't criminalize homelessness here in New Jersey.
Thank you so very much, Senator. I'm so happy to stand here with you and support. One of the things that we have to do is make sure that we do our very best to support those things that are important to us. It's very important that we have a place for our young ones to live. So many things are going up. Think about it. Food's going up, but the only thing that's not going up is individuals' opportunities to make revenue so that they can live in affordable housing. So it's very, very important that we stand with people who support these bills and other bills. I'm happy to be a sponsor. I'm going to keep on fighting and making sure that this issue and other issues such as this is at the top of the priority list. So thank you very much, Senator. You have always been a champion of making sure that the things that are right for the people are championed. So I appreciate that. I'm also appreciative that I have the opportunity to fight for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you, Assemblyman. And so as you hear from our legislative allies, housing insecurity, homelessness, lack of investment, these are choices. These are active choices that our state leadership can make. They are choices that they make to provide less funding than is needed. And these aren't pie in the sky numbers. When we talk about the numbers that are needed in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, for example, we're talking again, $140 million out of a $59 billion budget. When we're talking about providing code red services on the hottest, poorest air quality days of the year, we're talking about $5 million from a $59 billion budget. Many of our all of Network members work on the ground with their constituencies, with decision makers in their districts, and really understand the needs of the communities. And we're so fortunate today to have shelter providers, local advocates, realtors, domestic violence advocates, survivors, here in support of these essential housing services. And I actually wanted to call on any of them if you'd like to speak on behalf of your communities. I think that it's very important for us to understand that this is not just the political class that is calling for this. These bills are from the grassroots and from our communities, and they stem from a need. This bill is 6 years old at this point. Network members and advocates and legislative allies have been advocating for this and amending this legislation for years now. It is not fair to the advocacy community to keep us fighting for a roof over our head if it's not going to be provided for us. So we need answers from leadership. We need to understand why common sense legislation such as Code Red are not advancing, and we need answers. We need answers today. Otherwise, Code Red needs to be law today. And so anybody who wants to, yeah, raise it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Over there. All right. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the network. Thank you so much, Senator Timberlake and Assemblyman Atkins, for your courageous and unwavering leadership in this work. My name is Raisa. I am the Policy Associate for the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness. And we are seeing a crisis of skyrocketing homelessness in our state. Homelessness has risen 57% over the past 3 years, and we know that's only going to get worse with the rising cost of rent. It's only going to get worse with federal cuts that are going to decimate our homelessness system. And so we must be prepared. And the very, very, very foundation of that is we must make sure that when there are extreme weather conditions, that people have safe places to go so that they are not at risk of dying. And so Code Red is a really, really important legislation. We know that heat actually causes more death than the cold. And we also know that unhoused people are 200 times more likely to die from heat-related deaths. And around half of the deaths that we see from heat are unhoused people. And so this is not a theoretical discussion. This is a life or death bill. And the Senate has unanimously supported this bill. We have no doubt that many in the Assembly would do the same. We need to give the Assembly the opportunity to advance this critical bill and to make sure that we can keep people safe. I will just say one other thing, that colleague I work with got a call from somebody from Arizona who operates a shelter out of a church. And because they operate out of the church, and this is the case for many of our shelters, especially in extreme conditions, they can't be open over the weekends. And so they had to let people go over a very, very hot weekend, and 2 of the people who they work with actually died by Monday. That's not a situation anybody should have to be in. And we cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this to people experiencing homelessness. We cannot keep doing this to our shelter providers. We need to take action around Code Red now. And I'll just very briefly also say that I'm really grateful that we're also here uplifting the Homeless Bill of Rights. We know that criminalizing homelessness is not only cruel, it's ineffective, it's expensive, and just makes homelessness worse. It just prolongs incidences that people are experiencing homelessness, and it costs up to 3 times as much as providing supportive housing or providing shelter. So we're really, really grateful that Senator Timberlake and Assemblyman Atkins have been championing this bill. And we're really grateful for the network's efforts to restore the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, because at the end of the day, we know what is the solution to homelessness is providing affordable housing and making sure everyone has a safe place to live. So thank you so much.
So today there are code blue alerts called all over the state today. Code blue because of extreme cold. We're advocating for code red. The state can make a meaningful effort to pass this bill now so we can have this program up and running when it does get too hot. Senator Timberlake, we don't have to think very, very far back when the skies were hazy and opaque from the wildfires coming from Canada, as Senator Timberlake mentioned. We don't have to think very far back when we are when our neighbors become short of breath because of extreme heat. We don't have to think very far back to the extreme heat of last summer to know how important this legislation is. So today, when it is extremely cold, we are grateful that the state has in place a code blue policy that provides shelter for those who are unhoused or need warming shelters. But that was also a fight. So now we have to go in the other direction. We have to meet the needs of our at-risk populations during times of extreme heat. And so I call on any of other of our advocates who might be. We have Ben from Isles.
Thank you, and thank you to Stacy and the rest of the network and Senator Timberlake and some Atkins for their support. I think it really all just boils down to building more housing at this point, whether it's the homelessness Bill of Rights or the fully funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or the new Municipal Housing Trust Fund that's up in committee today. It all does or complying with Mount Laurel. It really just comes down to building more housing. But also just wanted to address extreme heat. It's hard to keep these things in mind when it's so cold outside. Thanks again to Matt and the network for working code blue, code red. We have to be very aware. sensitively aware and very implicitly aware of what this does to our unhoused population. We know here in Trenton, House works directly with the population. We know that urban heat islands tend to hold on to that temperature from 5 to 20 degrees, not cooling down overnight. The body does not do well with that. It is a public health crisis. So we're just asking, fully supporting the network's efforts here to get Code Red on the board list, and let's put this through. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is JJ Administrator, and I'm a realtor. And we need to pair Code Blue with Code Red. It is super important. Okay. The heat and the air, children with asthma and people just dying. You see them dying of the cold in the streets now, and it's going to be even worse coming up now. Climate change is crazy, and it changes things all over. This bill has to be passed this year, not next year. 6 years is ridiculous. Okay. It has to be done. And as far as housing is concerned, what was the big name in the last year, elections and everything? Affordability. Okay. People are going to lose their homes over lots of different things, maybe student debt, maybe the cost of utilities. They can't stay in their house. People are going to be on the streets. Let's do what we were always supposed to do. Get ahead of it. We can solve the problem. Let's get to it. Whether it's zoning changes, whatever it is that makes the thing happen, let's do our affordable housing and claw back our $80 million that really was allotted for us, and let's use it. Don't take it back. Please, let us do our job.
Thank you, JJ. All right, we're going to take some questions, but can I get a passcode red now? Passcode red now!
Yes, you can.
And if there's any questions from anybody, we're happy to
Yes,
answer.
go ahead.
So you had mentioned that the governor-elect promised not to divert.
It's in her, it was, yep.
Did she say anything about restoring the money
Well, I don't think that she had, she didn't. She can in January, and we hope that she does.
though? Okay.
She hasn't said anything. We haven't directly had that conversation yet, but we would hope that she, would take a good look, strong look at it.
Okay, and then I had another question I was hoping that you two could address, and that is, AG Platkin has taken kind of a hard stand against the Trump administration, suing on all the stuff, including the recent stuff that threatens homelessness funding. However, in the case of the trust fund, this is one of those situations where the call is coming from inside the House, right? That the state is doing damage to some of the efforts here. So I just wonder if you guys want to address kind of the federal role and the state role in kind of the quandary that you find yourselves in terms of this lack of affordable housing, the threats that said that homelessness could rise because of these cuts. So I guess I just kind of want you to address both things.
Yeah, I don't think that our state should be mirroring anything that we're seeing at the federal level as it relates to housing and services for people. I mean, this is an administration that was okay with holding the line and doing a government shutdown, causing furloughs and layoffs, and having people have to go without food. This is nothing that should be mirrored here in the state of New Jersey. We have been on the ground advocating for full funding of the Housing Trust Fund for many years. This will be my 8th year in the legislature, and every single year we have advocated for full funding and for there not to be a diversion. We have been, give or take, more successful some years than other years, but we're looking forward to the Sherrill administration. I'm grateful that she has made the declaration that she will not divert any funds. We want to make sure that there's full funding. We did have a small victory over the summertime where there were a couple million that was placed back into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, but we want the entire pot. This is important. How can we pass and have done A5, which was all about mandating affordable housing, if we don't have the subsidy dollars to actually create and offset the cost to build? Furthermore, you have high inflation that's coming from tariffs and things set at the federal government, and the cost to build is also increasing. So the state of New Jersey has got to offset what we're seeing happening at the federal level. The federal level and the behavior there, they ought to be ashamed of themselves for what it is that they're doing to people and citizens in the United States. It's not about Democrat, it's not about Republican, it's about humanity. So here at the state level, we have got to hold the line, and we need to make sure that our programs here are fully funded at the state level. And we should not have to be fighting so hard for the basic needs to meet the needs of people.
But what about the fact that you're fighting some people in your own party? Like, you know.
That's never mattered to me.
Okay.
That's
But
right.
it seems like
That's
there's a lot
right.
back. But what do you think is going on there? Like, why are people?
I think that housing, and by the way, I mentioned being in the legislature for 8 years, but I've been a community developer myself and a housing champion, an advocate, nonprofit executive for, I don't know, close to 15 years. And it's always comes down to, if I could just speak as an advocate for a second and not a senator, it always comes down to education. So many people, even regardless of what party they're in, have misconceptions about what affordable housing is. Some of the people who are against affordable housing actually qualify for it. Those same people will complain about their child who is now home from college and moving back into their childhood room, but they'll still not be in support of affordable housing. I think it's based in misconceptions, in stereotypes, and I've spent practically my entire adult career and life just trying to break through those barriers. So I'm here to continue doing it and happy to continue doing it, but it would be nice if we didn't have to educate so much and that people just truly believe that everyone deserves a roof over their head.
I just want to say, you know, it's very important. We talk about all the time that New Jersey is the opportunity state. It's a place where we want people to remain and to stay. We want our young ones, the young minds, to go to college, stay here, and then contribute afterwards. But the truth of the matter is, if they don't feel the support that they need in order to be successful, they're going to leave. So in order for us to continue being a successful state, we have to focus in on the needs of the people. And one of the needs of the people is housing. One of the needs of the people is being able to eat. We have 9.3 million people in this state. Some will say that it went up to 9.5 million. But what I will say is that 1.4 is struggling with food insecurity. Out of that 1.4 million people, we have 400,000 that are young children. Children can't learn if they're hungry. And it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, yellow, or orange. Children are children. And we have to learn how to put humanity first. We have to create in New Jersey a culture of service so that service can be for humanity. And the way we do that is to make sure that we have the right dollars in the right place to make the right impact. And that's what we're fighting for today.
Question? Do you have any questions? Okay, I just have one more question. That's just a point of confusion. I feel like I've seen code reds before during the summer. Is the problem that it's not a unified statewide thing? It's not that some counties and towns might do it on their own, correct?
Yes, counties and towns can institute their own code red, but this is similar to, as Matt described, before we had a statewide code blue law, we had a patchwork of information and a patchwork of details. And so this legislation would actually create a 10-county pilot program to expand the process for those 10 counties and track how it works and see if it's going to be more expensive, maybe it's less expensive. The state legislature loves pilot programs because it gives us information, it gives people data, and it helps set good policy in a small, incubator process. And that's what this legislation would do. It would really just test out how well our code red system is working at the municipal and county levels and make recommendations about what the state can do to make sure it works everywhere for everyone. And so that is not a big lift, and it is a small investment in the health and safety of our entire state, because we can learn from it and we can be better at it, but we can also make sure that we are being cost effective with the state's dollars. So this is essentially a down payment on a much larger program. We need to get started, and we really can't wait. So the idea that we would wait for the budget next year for Code Red is intolerable and not something that I think our coalition of advocates and community providers is really willing to accept at this point. We know that the state of New Jersey is the wealthiest state in the nation, in the history of the world. And so, America is a very wealthy place. New Jersey is a very wealthy place. If we can't come up with $5 million to make sure that people don't die of heat, exhaustion, and exposure, we are doing something wrong. Code Red now.
Code red now.